All right, hi everyone. My name is Ramchandani, and today I'll be walking through a case study that is of the 2014 Salmonella outbreak tied to sprouted organic chia powder. At first look, this might not seem like a huge deal. I mean, we're talking about like chia seeds and chia powder, but something many of us have probably sprinkled into like our smoothie or yogurt at some point. But it made it really interesting, like to see the disconnect between public perception and actual risk, is what really stood out to me. And then this case reminds me of like, even though it is like labeled as a food, it doesn't mean like it's free of danger. So yeah, here's my table of contents. All right, so first background information. So let's start with the basics. Between January and July of 2014, 31 confirmed cases of salmonella were reported across 16 US states. The outbreak was traced back to raw sprouted chia powder sold by Navitas Naturals and Health Matters America. The contamination happened during the sprouting process, which, as you might know, requires a warmth and moisture. So these are conditions that also happen to be ideal for bacteria like salmonella to grow. What makes things worse is that the chia powder wasn't something that people cooked. It was added to raw things like smoothies, parfaits, or oatmeal. So if the bacteria were present, they weren't being killed off by heat. Demographically, the outbreak mostly affected adult women, but cases ranged from infants to seniors over 80 years of age. 5 people were hospitalized, and although there were no deaths, it raised some serious alarms. Also worth noting, the outbreak reached to Canada as well. This wasn't just a domestic issue; it was quickly became international, which added more pressure on health agencies to coordinate and respond. So the current situation, chia powder was part of much larger well. It was part of a much larger wellness trend at the time. Between popularity of clean eating, plant-based diets, and superfoods, people were consuming these products without thinking twice. And yeah, so like I said in the slide, like chia powder was viewed as like a superfood that was consumed in a lot of foods. What was interesting and kind of alarming is that at the time of the outbreak, there were no food and safety regulations specific to chia seed powder. Other sprouted seeds like alfalfa and mung beans already had strict testing protocols, but chia powder was overseen. That's where this became more just like a one-off food scare. Like it showed that our safety regulations hadn't caught up with how people were actually eating. And like I said too, like the regulatory gap. So like there was no specific U.S. testing for chia powders, but there were for other foods. So we're gonna move into the SWOT analysis. Um, so here's a closer look of how we look at this. So SWOT obviously stands for like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. For a major strength was the response from public health officials. So the CDC and FDA moved fast once the outbreak was linked to chia powder. They issued recalls, put out public alerts, and coordinated with Canadian health agencies to continue or to contain the issue. The weakness was the lack of consumer awareness. There were no labels, no safe use instructions, and most people assumed the powder was safe just because it was organic or plant based. And that's where marketing clashed with the microbiology. The opportunity. So the opportunity was to educate the public. Adding simple preparation tips or warnings to packaging could go a long way. And then wellness influencers who helped make chia popular in the first place could be great messengers for this type of information. And finally, the threat. We're starting to see like kind of history repeating itself. So in 2023, there was another recall of chia seeds for possible salmonella contamination. This shows that unless something changes, this isn't going to be the last time like chia seeds or powder can cause a problem. All right, for the root cause or the issues, the underlying cause comes down to the nature of sprouting itself. I think warm and damp environments are great conditions for growing chia seeds and equally great for growing bacteria. So if the seeds aren't cleaned properly or handled with care during the sprouting, then contamination is very likely. Like I said too before, like chia is eaten raw, so found in like smoothies, parfaits, or oatmeal. So the no like you can't. There's no heat that could kill the bacteria. Um, yeah. Yeah, so there was also a regulatory blind spot. Even though scientists and food safety experts already knew that sprouted products were high risk, chia powder didn't fall under the same testing requirements. And consumers never were warned. Most assumed it was a healthy, harmless product. So the gap between scientific knowledge and public messaging is really what allowed this to spread. All right, we're going to go into a couple alternatives. One alternative is to require mandatory testing for chia powder for pathogens like salmonella before it's sold. This already happens for other sprouted seeds, so it wouldn't be starting from scratch. It would just be extending an existing rule to a product that should have been included all along, and like chia shouldn't have been overseen. Another option is to improve labeling and education. Adding warning labels, especially for pregnant women, young children, and immunocompromised individuals, could help people make safer decisions and could help them in the long run. Yeah. We also could push out information on how to prepare for chia powder safely, like boiling it briefly before use and doing that through campaigns at like grocery stores, wellness blogs, or campaign ads. And the health belief model, like I mentioned at the bottom of the slide, fits very well here. If people don't think they're at risk or don't know what steps to take, they won't change their behavior. But if you show them that the risk and give them an easy action to flow, the more likely and more safer like their choice will be in the long run. So yeah. Couple recommendations. So here are my two like key recommendations that I found during my research. The first one, we need to make a pathogen testing mandatory for all chia seed powders before distribution. I feel like it's a basic step that could prevent outbreaks without changing how the product is made or consumed. And then my second recommendation is so to launch a national public awareness campaign focused on this case, and yeah, just focus on like raw superfoods. Thinking of like wellness influencers and health food stores and nutrition labels, like all working together to give consumers a clear, more honest information. It's not about demonizing chia or other health products. I think it's more so about making sure people have the knowledge they need to stay safe while still enjoying the benefits of these foods. Yeah. And like I also add at the very bottom of this, like combining tighter regulation with stronger education can create a lasting change. So just making sure the public is very informed about this. So yeah. All right. So talking about an action plan. So if we focus on mandatory testing, here's how we could implement that. So the FDA would start by creating chia-specific testing guidelines, so probably by working with public health experts and producers. Then training programs would help manufacturers learn how to carry out the testing and stay in compliance. So by month like 5 through 7, the rule becomes official, and any non-compliant products are pulled or blocked from retail. After that, random testing and annual audits keep the system in check. And yeah, I believe this plan is pretty straightforward. It mirrors how we handle other sprouted products and wouldn't add much cost or complexity. It's definitely a preventative step with long-term benefits. So here in my action plan, I kind of laid out a couple steps, obviously like between like months 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 7, and then like month 8. Just like the implementation of what we want to do in regards to this case. Yeah. So in conclusion, to wrap things up, I wanted to just draw a quick comparison to a similar case, the 2011 E. coli outbreak in Germany. The outbreak was tied to, the outbreak was tied to raw fenugreek sprouts and caused over 4,000 cases and more than 50 deaths. Like the chia case, it came from a sprouted raw product that wasn't properly regulated. Both cases show that when public safety doesn't keep up with food trends, people get like hurt, and there's yeah. So yeah, there's definitely like downfalls in the end. What I take from this is that the solution doesn't have to be extreme. We don't need to stop eating chia or the fenugreek products. We just need to have smarter oversights about this and better communication with the public. So if we meet consumers where they are and make safety protocols and normal parts of health food culture, we can prevent a lot of unnecessary harm in the long run. Yeah. And like I said too, like personally, I don't think this like solution is like to scare people away from plant-based products and plant-based eating. It's just about combining honest education with safety standards and really informing the public so they know what choices to make and what not to make. Right. And then here's my reference page in alphabetical order about all the sources I use and all the research I did as well. Yeah. Thank you.